1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast Soundcheck, Wednesday show live. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Royal Blue Podcast live, Wednesday show live. Hello and welcome to the Royal Blue Podcast. It's Wednesday, it's July 23rd, we are live and I am your host Ian Croll. Joining me in the Royal Blue studio today to talk all things Everton, we've got the Echo sports content editor and Big Blue Paul Wheelock. Paul, how are things, all good?
Yeah, all right mate, waiting for a few signings to come, aren't we, or a few more?
Signings.
Yeah, we've kind of had the first couple of games now, haven't we? I think we're all looking forward to a bit more excitement when the big game starts.
Absolutely, well we've got a game on Saturday, 9 p.m. our time. We had a game yesterday, which we will come on to. It is just the two of us, Paul. Though. Gav Buckland's binned us off. He's a busy man, but I'm sure we'll get through. We've got plenty to speak about. Yeah. Today's agenda, there is a few newsy bits that we can speak about. Obviously, Everton's behind closed doors friendly. That happened yesterday against Port Vale, 2-1 win. Thankfully, a win.
Yeah.
Rather than
we're
a draw.
one down, where we want
and a defeat. So we will talk about that. Another newsy bit as well, a number of reports this week that Jordan Pickford is potentially close to signing a new long-term deal, so we'll discuss the ramifications of that. We'll even discuss I'll put Paul on the spot and ask him where he ranks Jordan Pickford among Everton goalkeepers. Best maybe not ask Neville Southall that.
Yeah, he's not been too kind, has he?
And for the rest of the show, as titled, just because really there's nothing new to speak about in terms of transfers, transfer rumours, transfer links. It is all quiet. We're going to try and discuss and compare the Premier League's other clubs' transfer business and what that means for Everton. We can compare, we can grade, so a little bit of a comparison, and maybe we can judge just how Everton are actually doing this summer compared to other Premier League clubs. Just to be fair. And to be clear on that, Paul, I only think it's worth talking about clubs that Everton probably are going to try and target in the league. Yeah. I generally don't think it's, as part of this discussion, speaking about Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal, Chelsea, the clubs who are spending absolutely huge. I'd go as far as to say, we can speak about Tottenham and United because we did finish above them, but even they're in a bit of a different stratosphere with spending as well. So I'm thinking of we can look at the likes of Villa, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton, West Ham, Crystal Palace, all those type of teams who may be struggling to bring players in themselves, maybe not struggling, but we will, I guess, come on to that and see what we can conjure up. Obviously, get involved in the chat yourself. As always, give us a thumbs up and drop us a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Support is greatly appreciated, and as just mentioned then, get your comments in, get your questions in, and take part in the live stream. I can see loads coming in already, which is good. It makes my job easier when there's people putting questions in, commenting and things to say. I think we might as well start with behind closed doors friendly, Paul. It was obviously announced only within the past week or so that Everton had added a new pre-season game to the fixture list. So it was a game, I guess the first ever men's game at Bramley Moor, Hill Dickinson Stadium. Got to remember to call it that now. Everton won 2-1. Goals from Carlos Alcaraz and a peach of a free kick from James Garner. Obviously, no one was allowed really in, but we've seen a couple of clips online. I don't know if you've seen them, but anything that you make of it? 2-1 win.
It's just another game, isn't it? It's probably and a good run out at the stadium because I remember towards the back end of the season, I think we relayed the pitch, didn't we, after the first two test events?
Yeah.
I remember Moyes wasn't too happy because I think he wanted to get in there before the end of last season. Yeah. To get used to the new surroundings, so it was clear from that he was very keen to do that. And obviously, I think they've been training there, haven't they, previously? Because I know there was a drone over there recently that showed that. And yeah, I think it needs to because it is all going. It's going to take time, isn't it? It's going to take time. I'm sure the atmosphere will be absolutely amazing from the Roma game onwards. but it is a new ground. It's a new pitch and it's new home comforts really. So from that perspective, it was good to get a game. In terms of like the match itself, we've only been able to go on the information that the club had provided because it was behind closed doors. I know there was video footage or there were updates weren't they coming through over social media. But 2 good goals, lovely finish from Alcaraz, first team player to score at the new stadium, and then Garner's was an absolute cracker, wasn't it really? So it's hard at this stage of the season when you're playing lower league opposition. You sometimes wonder, well, why haven't we beat Accrington? Poor performance against Blackburn. Why didn't we hammer Port Vale? But it purely is about fitness, isn't it, at this stage of the season? I can remember going to Bolton last year and it was an absolute dreadful game, but it serves the purpose of just giving some minutes in the legs for the players. But yeah, nice to get a win, isn't it? Nice to score a couple of good goals, and hopefully we can kick on now with these tougher pre-season friendlies coming up.
And then, as you said, Moyes did make a big deal about getting used to the surroundings of the Hill Dickinson Stadium as well. You're right, he wasn't particularly pleased when he found out that the pitch was going to be dug up, but I think that was planned. I don't think that was like there was an issue with the pitch and something had happened. So I think the last thing you want, isn't it, is to go into your brand new stadium, although it's unprecedented, not many teams really, maybe more so over the last couple of years, new teams going into the stadium. I think I remember when Arsenal did it years ago now. God, you're talking, if that still feels like a new stadium, but looking at the years that have passed now, it's not really in relative terms, but they did take a while to get going. If I remember, it took a while for them to get the first win.
Yeah, I remember Thierry Henry, funnily enough, I remember an interview about it, and he said, it sounds mad this, because the pitch is more or less the same, is it? The goals are the same size, but he said at Highbury, he just knew wherever he was on that pitch, he knew exactly where to turn and shoot, kind of thing. So it's just things like that, isn't it? It's like things we probably don't realise in terms of players. So, hopefully we can train there as much as possible before the start of the season. And I think the Roma game will help, won't it? Because even though the Brighton one's a bigger one in the respect that it's the first ever competitive game there, but it's going to be a full stadium, isn't it? It's good opposition. And hopefully it just take a few of the nerves away and just gives people, just as I say, gives the players a bit more, hopefully make them more comfortable, because it is going to be such a big change. It's going to be such a big change for us, isn't it, as supporters, in terms of, the routine and your seat and everything that comes with it. But, change has got to come for the better, hasn't it? And I think it will by going to the new stadium.
And I think just on that as well, it's a good example, that Thierry Henry one with Highbury. I think it's the same in terms of going to a new stadium, obviously, but it's slightly different, isn't it? Let's face it, when Arsenal left Highbury, they had huge amounts of success in the years prior to that. They were probably winning there every game. It was obviously a good place to go. Whereas Goodison, we obviously love it, the history. It's ingrained into the fans' part of their lives, everything that goes along with that. But let's face it, it's not really been a happy hunting ground. So we've all said it. We knew we needed to move on, but change is good. So you just want us to get off to that good start. Don't get me wrong, if it's a draw against Brighton, you certainly don't want to lose, but a win, it would just ease the nerves, or whatever nerves that are there, going forward into the new season.
Absolutely, mate. It just feels like it's not a whole new club, isn't it? But we've obviously got the new owners. David Moyes is not a new manager in that respect, because he's been here previously for a long time. But it feels like a new page, doesn't it? A fresh era. And people are ready for that optimism and excitement, which we kind of had at the back end of last season when we got safe and obviously had the great farewell from Goodison Park. And I think I am with you completely. There will be ups and downs this season, because we're certainly nowhere near the finished article, are we, as a team? But it's important to get off to a really good start at home, kind of thing. And that's why it comes back to, if we have to play more behind closed doors friendlies or more training sessions, let's do it for the good of the players. And I just can't wait for the Roma game now, really. I went to the 2 test events, but to see it full, it's going to be something else.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it, the Roma game, regardless of whether, it's the first time for many fans in the new stadium. It's huge in the sense that it's going to give us a real idea of what the team is going to look like a week later when we play Leeds. And you wouldn't be surprised, like you say there, if there is another behind closed doors friendly announced, and you would fully expect more training sessions there, as opposed to at the training ground at Finch Farm. So I'm really excited for the Roma game. I haven't been to a friendlier home for a while. Obviously this is different with it being a new game, but a few nerves as well as to see what players we bring in, because we don't want to be underprepared for the new season. I mean, I guess we didn't see the game yesterday, but I think worth mentioning Carlos Alcaraz and James Garner. Just briefly speak about them. Alcaraz, obviously, they're the type of goals that you kind of want him to be scoring. I know, seeing a few people praising Patterson for his cross into Alcaraz, but then I've seen a few people saying, well, it wasn't even meant for Alcaraz, it was meant for Schmidt, and it ended up at Alcaraz. But on the edge of the box, you know, in that number 10 position where you expect them to predominantly play, it was kind of, well, it was a first time shot, don't get me wrong, it wasn't as easy on the eye, but it went in, and they're the type of positions that you want Alcaraz to be getting in.
Yeah, well, we need more goals, don't we? We desperately need more goals from midfield, and I know it's difficult at the moment because I think we're all feeling it, aren't we? We got the Alcaraz deal done, Branthwaite contract done, it's just a gay contract done, but we're kind of like wanting more signings now, aren't we? We're just typical football supporters, and I say typical football supporters because we are, but we all with Everton, with Evertonians, we know the size of the squad at the moment. You know, it's nowhere near big enough, is it? It needs a lot more depth. But we can't forget that Alcaraz, I think he will turn out to be a really good signing, like, you know, 15 million after a really good first second half of the season, wasn't it, on loan? But he's got that in his locker, hasn't he? He's definitely got his finish yesterday was brilliant. So we should be excited about him. You know, there's no doubt about it. But there's no doubt about it that we need a few more in there as well, don't we? And
just finishing off on the friendly then against Port Vale, James Garner. We've discussed him at length on the podcast the past couple of weeks, and I think we all agree that there's a player in there. We just want to see it come out. We want to see more, and we definitely saw more from that free kick. What I will say is it's pinpoint. It's so accurate. It's so far out as well.
Yeah.
Like, usually those type of free kicks, they're just on the edge of the area. Maybe, you know, a couple of metres back, but I'd probably say he was, 25, 30 yards out, and you couldn't get more pinpoint than that. That's the type of stuff you want to see James Garner doing.
Absolutely. He's got a kick on this season, hasn't he? Like, you know, to be fair, he's still young. He's about 24, something like that.
Yeah, he's still young, isn't he?
Still young. So he's had 2 full seasons at Everton now, hasn't he? And I know there's been injuries in both. But really, you look at it, it's like we've talked about Harrison Armstrong, haven't we? You look at that centre midfield at the moment, and the two who are starting every week are Garner and Garner Gay, aren't they, really? But I like James Garner. I think he's a tidy player. But I think we need a little bit more. I think we need a little bit more in there as a midfield. But as you rightly say, there is a player in there, and I think he has got that ability to step up a little bit and take more responsibility, and we need goals there. But dead ball situation, I remember him at Forest. I remember seeing him at Forest. He was excellent there. That goal yesterday, I know it's only behind closed doors friendly, but it was, as you said, it was pinpoint, wasn't it? It was brilliant free kick.
I'm trying to think, like, from the season just gone, who was our free kick taker? Was it Garner? We didn't get many free kicks on the edge of the box.
Ashley Young scored one, didn't he?
Against, it was in the cup.
Yeah,
in the cup.
Yeah, bottom corner. But no, we didn't have loads, did we? Like, the last one I can remember is really Luca Dean was probably our best free kick taker, wasn't he? Really, of recent years.
McNeil, would he have been on them? Let us know in the comments. We can't think about who was Everton's free kick taker on the edge of the box.
Didn't feel like we had loads though, did we?
I just can't really remember Garner taking a lot of free kicks in that area.
No.
So I guess it'd be one to watch. Scoring a free kick like that, you're putting yourself in the top of the pecking order to take the free kicks, aren't you? Look, I feel like we come on here every single time we speak about James Garner, and it feels like we're criticising him.
Yeah.
I don't think we are. I think he's got his critics, no doubt, but I think it's a little bit justified. But we'll see what happens if we can bring in, you know, hopefully some more quality players who we're able to run off him, you know, with some of his through balls and some of his passing. So, got a good, interesting point here from Mark Foster, just with regards to the Roma game.
Yeah.
I mentioned, well, it'd be interesting to see who plays in that game because it might give an idea who plays against Leeds, but he's kind of countered that and said, if the squad size doesn't improve by the Roma game, a lot of the starters may not be risked, as we'll not be able to afford any injuries before Leeds. It's a good point, that, actually, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's like, it's difficult at the moment, isn't it? Because I think when I was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, I think we were all the agreement before Barry signed that it'd been a pretty good start to the summer because, as you say, Gay contract, Branthwaite contract, Alcaraz, the backup goalkeeper, which was needed, wasn't it? And then Tierno Barry. We were kind of, this has been, if we had said at the start of the season, you know, by the middle of June, coming up to the late, start of July, you got those players in the bag, you would have been happy. But if you see the squads that have been named on paper for the Accrington and Blackburn games, and I know there's still some players in both who either came back or are still to come back. It would be a risk at the moment to go into the season with what is effectively like a 15, 16 man outfield player squad. Like it does need numbers, but it is hard, which we may talk about. But the players who you want to bring now are starting players, aren't they? It's difficult, but it's needed.
Okay. Well, Everton got a win 2-1 against Port Vale. I've always liked Port Vale for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Do you know what I think it stems back to? Do you remember when we played them in the FA Cup?
Yes.
The season after we won it,
Yeah.
I think, and they ended up
knocking us out, didn't they?
Did they get a replay or something like that?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
It went to a replay and they ended up knocking us out. And for some reason, they've always stuck out as a team in my head. I didn't like them on that day, obviously, but I do remember them as a team to keep an eye on when I was a youngster. We'll move on to Jordan Pickford. Paul, obviously a couple of reports this week just suggesting Pickford might be close to signing a new deal. Is it 2 years he had left on it, 2 or 3 years he's got left on it, or something like that? I'd need to verify that and double check. But I mean, I guess it's goes without saying that we need to keep hold of Jordan Pickford as long as possible.
Yeah, without doubt. I know we've done it before. I think in a year's time, is it Tarkowski, Garner, and Mikalenko are out of contract? So you'd think those would have been the bigger priorities, but if the Freakin group have made the move to keep Branthwaite, like who's probably our biggest asset, isn't he, in terms of how much if he ever went, how much we could get for him. Pickford's probably our best player, isn't he? I think it's fair to say, isn't it? He's the England #1 goalkeeper, and I know there's enough discussion whenever England seems to play about whether he should be the #1, but he's the #1 by a country mile for me, and he's been absolutely brilliant for Everton. I'm quite surprised, really, that no one's ever come in for him, or if they have, they've not been done it more serious, because I think we were talking the other day. I struggle to see a better goalkeeper in the Premier League. Hate to say it, potentially Alisson, because Alisson is a brilliant goalkeeper of Liverpool's. David Raya has improved a lot after a shaky start at Arsenal. I think he's an excellent goalkeeper.
Even Ederson's dropped off a little bit.
Even Ederson's dropped off. So I look at Chelsea. I didn't watch loads of the Club World Cup, but I watched Sanchez, and he had a good game, to be fair. But then at the end, he nearly had a mistake. And I just think Pickford's a better goalkeeper than him. Tottenham's Vicario. I don't think he can hold a candle to Pickford. So I'm quite surprised no one's ever come in for him. But if he gets a new contract, which obviously be more money, he's deserved it, hasn't he? Really, he's deserved it. And hopefully it's another statement from the Freakin group that they're saying we want to keep our best players and reward our best players.
I mean, and I'm sure the club are keeping tabs on other goalkeepers. I know we've just signed a second string goalkeeper as such in Mark Travers, but if the unthinkable was to happen and Pickford was to go, I just don't know where Everton would actually turn because of the consistency and the high quality of him. Like where do you actually think you'd end up having to spend millions of pounds?
Yeah, absolutely. I know he's 31 now, isn't he? So his value would have come down, but it's a world-class goalkeeper. We probably, I don't say we underappreciate him, because we clearly don't. You can see by the song in the last game of the season, the last few games of the season, how much he's loved. But I think we shouldn't take him for granted, because you're right. We've got a top-class goalkeeper there, and it'd be virtually impossible to replace. And I know we might be talking about it, but I kind of started going the game when Neville Southall he wasn't coming to the end, far from it. He probably, mid-80s, he was the very best in the world, and even up to 95, his performance in the cup final showed what an amazing goalkeeper was. But it wasn't too long after that we went years and years with swapping goalkeepers. It's really, really difficult, and we've had it made really with Pickford now. Given, even though he's in his 30s now, doesn't show no signs of slowing down, does he? So yeah, we should be grateful for him.
And obviously, Neville Southall's going to be #1 as Everton goalkeepers of all time. I guess me and you can only speak about the times that we've gone the game in terms of watching football. But where would you rank Pickford as Everton's all-time goalkeeper?
Outside of Southall, one for me. As I said then, we struggled to get a replacement for him, and then Nigel Martin came along, and I thought Nigel Martin was absolutely brilliant. I know he wasn't there for a long time. It was just a long term. It was just a shame we probably didn't get him in earlier in his career before he went to Leeds. But he actually reminded me of Alisson. Wasn't particularly fancy, but he did his job really well. But Martin wasn't great Everton teams, and then obviously you had Tim Howard, who was a pretty solid goalkeeper. You can tell that by the number of appearances he made for the club. I know he dropped off towards the end, but he was a great buy. But I just think what Pickford's done in recent years to keep us up is absolutely massive. So I don't know about you, mates, but he'd be my number one in watching Everton outside of Southall.
Yeah, absolutely. I just feel it's a shame that we haven't been able to match his, quality on the outfield side of things. Because let's face it, I don't care what anyone says, he's been world class, regardless of whether we've been fighting relegation or at the lower end of the league. It's clear that playing for England, and not just playing for England, getting to, major finals with England as well, and certainly to the later stages of tournaments, a number of occasions, it's because of Jordan Pickford in many occasions why that's happened for England. So I agree. I think no one's ever going to come close to Southall. Obviously, in terms of the 80s, I wasn't around with that, but even I saw Southall even mid-90s when he was probably on the wane, but still won a trophy. I feel like I'm getting all nostalgic again at the moment, but that save, he made a couple of saves in the 95 FA Cup final.
He was the man of the match.
He still, exactly. He still had it there, and I've got a vivid memory of that. So without a doubt, he's the only keeper that I know who's won a trophy with Everton. Let's hope Jordan Pickford can do the same at some point. But in terms of contracts, no brainer. Get it signed if he obviously wants to stay. You don't want to necessarily be wanting to leave on a free either, do you?
No. I just think the best clubs reward the best run clubs, and I know we've not really been able to do it because we haven't been well run. It's been a very, very tough existence, hasn't it, before the Freaking Group took over. But you reward your best players, don't you? And like we've done it with Braithwaite and Pickford. As you say, he is here for the long term, and I think if he does sign a new long term contract, that's more or less saying this is the rest of his career, there, isn't it? Really. And I think we spoke about it on a previous podcast I was on. It'd be interesting to see him be the captain at the start of the season, won't it? Because you can't imagine Seamus Coleman would be fit, and you kind of get the impression now his importance going to be off the field, maybe more so than on it. And then Tarkowski hasn't played so far, has he, this summer? So Pickford could be the next Everton captain at this rate.
Seems like the captaincy's up for grabs at the moment in absence of Coleman and Tarkowski. Obviously, Braithwaite. Did he have it at Accrington?
Yes.
And then Gay had it at Blackburn.
And he was wearing it yesterday.
Did he wear it yesterday as well? So, it could be... I mean, they're the most obvious choices, aren't they, when fit and fired, and certainly when Coleman and Tarkowski aren't fit. But, it'd be interesting to see if Pickford picks that up at some point over the next couple of games. But I think we've said this in the past. I think a lot of managers, regardless of whether the influence that particular goalkeeper has on the game, they just like an outfield player as the captain, don't they? And it makes sense, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think Moyes, I can't remember Moyes giving too many keepers captaincies. No. But either way, he's a leader, isn't he? Pickford's a leader with the armband or not.
Okay, before we come on to the main section of the podcast, I guess, which will be comparing other teams' transfers, I feel like that's just going to be a free-for-all. Because I've got a list, and I'm going to be totally honest with you. I've got a list of players that teams have signed, and I'm not entirely sure who a lot of them are, to be totally honest. Done a little bit of research before we've come in, but I've been pressed for time this morning. So I'm going to try my best we'll try our best to discuss.
It does feel like the biggest clubs are buying all the well-known names, aren't they?
I think that you've already kind of like summed it up as what we were going to say. But there is a couple of teams who are certainly making moves, and there's certainly a couple of teams who haven't made any moves. So, interesting. What I wanted to ask was, I'm glad we got the win yesterday, obviously, against Port Vale, regardless of whether it was a friendly and it was meaningless. Is there any danger, from your point of view, that from the back end of last season, it felt like a good, feel-good moment, didn't it? Let's face it. I know we drew with Ipswich, which was disappointing, but who did we win against? We won against Fulham. That was a bit of a surprise in a way, because of the way we came back in that game. Southampton, obviously everything taken into account with the last game of Goodison, but we still won it. And then even Newcastle, I'm going to be totally honest, huge surprise that we won that game. Hugely professional. I thought we'd be on the beach. Newcastle would desperately needed to win, and if anything, they faltered. They managed to get over the line because Villa faltered as well. Is there any momentum being lost in this pre-season? Not necessarily stuff that's happened on the pitch with regards to results. Just we got a couple of signings over the line, and now it's just gone completely quiet with transfers, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because these games are just, I never read too much into them. You know, I never really read too much into these games, but everything's online now, isn't it? Because that's where whereas growing up, like, you'd feel the temperature of the fan base, maybe on like Radio Merseyside kind of thing, or, you know, you'd be in the pub or like at the weekend when you see other people. But now it's things like podcasts, certainly social media, isn't it? And you can begin to tell that people are getting a bit twitchy, aren't they? And I think that's understandable. But I'm not trying to no, I don't think the club needs defending or David Moyes needs defending. I really don't. I don't think, because they are 100% working hard in the background to get more deals done. But it's just that there's so much to do, like, and there's probably not, like, Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea and Arsenal have got so much money to spend. We're going to have to be a bit, if not careful, but we're going to have to be a bit more choosy or really make the money go far. But I just think it would have been nice to get one more before this tour of America, wouldn't it, really? And I think I was reading something Alan Myers replied to a supporter where he didn't think that had happened, but something could happen while we're over there. And, you know, like, players can meet up, can't they? We're there for 10 days, I think, so, or 2 weeks, is it? So things can happen, but I do understand that feeling. Like, I don't know if it's momentum loss, but just needs a bit of a jolt again, doesn't it, I think?
Well, a lot of people saying that with regards to bringing, we needed at least one or two more in before America. What's the overriding reason for that, do you think, from your point of view?
Just think, you're going away for 2 weeks, aren't you? You know, with the full squad, it gives you time to bed in. You're playing good opposition. And whereas when we get back from there, I think it's the United game on the Sunday, isn't it? And then it's 2 weeks till the start of the season, really. But this is the thing with the transfer window, given that it goes up to the end of August, 1st of September, I think, this year. For most clubs like ourselves, it happens, doesn't it? Yeah. It happens, sadly. Unfortunately, we're not like those top clubs who can just go and spend the money and get the players in and get them. It's hard, and I think you'll be right later when we look at the clubs. We're probably one of many clubs looking for signings, aren't we, really, in that kind of mid-section of the Premier League. But yeah, we need it. We need more signings, no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you as such with regards to we needed one or two players in before the America trip. We ultimately need more players in, and it would have been nice to get those, a couple of new faces in before that. I mean, let's face it, we have brought in 3 players, whether you see Alcaraz as a new signing or not. Effectively, I know he was there while Decore was there, but he is Decore's replacement as at this moment in time. Barry is Calvert-Lewin's replacement, and then Travis is obviously the second string goalkeeper who, you know, everyone's saying we hope we don't see too much of.
Yeah, but it's a good point, isn't it? Because you're just replacing the players who've left rather than adding to them. So
I mean, we'll go through the list. Like I say, but before earlier on in the podcast, I just think it's completely unfair as part of this, discussion to compare us to Liverpool, City, Chelsea, Arsenal.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm even going to go as far as to say United and Spurs. If you disagree with that, let us know in the comments. We can speak about Spurs and we can speak about Man United if people think we should, because let's face it, we did finish above them. Are they going to be direct rivals this season? I don't know. Just have to see how it pans out. But before we go, like I say, the teams that I want to focus on, even teams who you think might even be out of reach, like Villa.
Yeah.
Like they're way ahead of us at this moment in time. Although I wouldn't be surprised to see a bit of a drop-off from Villa this season, depending on who they bring in. So Villa, Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton, Crystal Palace, Fulham, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest and West Ham. I think they're the teams that we need to target this summer. And if we were to be able to have a good season and finish above a lot of them, I think you are looking at 7th, 8th, 9th, that position. Before we go through the list, is there any teams who you think, even before you've looked at that list and thought they're making moves?
Not really. Like the one team who I think are doing the opposite are Brentford. I was seeing this morning that, or was it last night, Visser's left the training camp and he could be going to Newcastle. I think, talk about Newcastle, I think if they keep Isak and he gets someone like Visser and he get a couple, the Newcastle will be stronger than everyone in that group. Potentially, we have to see what Villa do. But it's just interesting. I know Joe Thomas wrote a piece before he went on holiday, and he was talking about kind of the opposite, really. That there's a lot of clubs in Everton's position who aren't strengthening. Like Brentford, they've lost Mbeumo, they've lost the manager. lost Norgard, the captain. You know, the goalkeeper's changed. I think they've got a better one in Kelleher now. But I think when we go through all these teams, I think it might lift our spirits a bit, if you know what I mean, because there's no one. You have to tell me Brighton's, but I can imagine Brighton, if they've signed anyone or who they've signed, we probably may not know them, but Brighton is just so good at recruiting, aren't they, really? But
yeah, I think the point that you made in terms of lifting spirits, that is kind of what it's done for me while looking through this list. Now, the list I've got is from Sky Sports. It's an article on Sky Sports News. And I'm hoping it is up to date because it said it was up to date at 8:40 this morning. So, I'd say that is pretty up to date. The one I targeted in terms of teams making moves was Brighton, if I'm going to be totally honest. They haven't sold anyone major from what I can see. They brought in a left full back for 17 million. I'm going to butcher a lot of these names. So I'll try and get through them. Maxim de Cooper. I don't know. 17.3 million. They've brought in another player, can play centre-back, left-back, Olivier Boscagli. Diego Capella, he's another defender. Tom Watson from Sunderland, he's a winger, but he's staying at Sunderland for the season. What else? I'm going to butcher this name completely. They brought in a striker from Olympiacos, 31.7 million. Charalampos Castulas.
Right, okay.
Never heard of him. There's a couple others as well, but minimal fees.
So they're spending big money then again, aren't they?
Exactly. But in comparison, it's not like Everton haven't spent big money on Tierney Barry.
No, true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Brentford are probably the perfect example. I've tried to summarise their transfer business a little bit, and it's exactly what you said. They've lost 2 huge players already, as well as the manager. I just don't see them being any stronger. They've obviously brought in Jordan Henderson, but certainly not going to be the player that he once was. Kelleher, I do think he's a really good goalkeeper. But other than that, there's a lot of players like brought in undisclosed fees who I just can't see making, that much of an impact really. I think Villa, again, they brought in 4 players, and a lot of them are either youngsters or brought in to play like youth team as such. I've summarised it by saying no major signings so far. They brought in a backup goalkeeper with 3 youth signings. They're a team who probably has to sell really to make any headway.
They seem to be like Newcastle were last summer. Well, Villa were, weren't they? And we've been in this position where it feels like they always need a big sale, from PSR kind of thing. Because I know they have spent a lot of money since Emery went in there. But that's another argument altogether, isn't it? Whether you believe in the merits of PSR, because I'm sure Villa and certainly Newcastle and I'm sure the Freaking Group will be the same. They'll want to invest, won't they? They'll want to invest. I'm sure it's the case of Villa just not having any money. I think they probably just have to be careful with the PSR rules. I still think Villa, even if we have a great summer, say if we bring in 3 or 4 more players and 2 or 3 are ready for the first team, who knows? Because Villa are a great example, aren't they? They went from under Gerrard being near the relegation zone to they've got an excellent manager in Emery and some really good signings. You can push, you can break through into that top 6 or 7, and Villa obviously got Champions League football, didn't they, as well? But that's an interesting one because
you would expect them to push on, wouldn't you?
But the teams above them who we're not talking about have gone even further now, haven't they? So you never know. But we need to strengthen. I think we're still a while away from Villa's level. We need to get those players, and maybe they have a quiet summer.
I'll make a bit of a prediction now, based on what we're talking about now and what we're going to discuss even further. It wouldn't surprise me, or I think that the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, City, I'll probably include Chelsea in this with what they're spending. It wouldn't surprise me if they just go on to another level, compared even for the likes of Newcastle. Yeah,
I think so, mate. Because look at Newcastle, it seems, reading from the outside or reading between the lines, that it was they couldn't keep Isak and buy this Ekatike, is it, who's going to Liverpool, and Liverpool obviously knew what they were doing there in that kind of those negotiations. There's only so far. It just feels like there's only so far you can go, isn't there? Whereas these 4 clubs, understandably, Liverpool and City, because of the success they've had in recent years, there's more success you have, the more money you make, don't you? So the bigger headroom you've got for PSR. And it just feels like we've talked about Chelsea, how they seem to have, by what they're selling hotels and selling the women's teams, but they just seem to be able to make so many signings every summer. But to be fair to them, in the Club World Cup, they look excellent. So it's quite an interesting point you make. Maybe Newcastle and Villa are almost hitting a ceiling at the moment, and if we can get it, not act together, but if we can make some good signings, you never know, that they could be clubs to target. Because even Forest, for instance, like, they've lost a Langer, haven't they? They could be losing Gibbs White. They're massive players.
Yeah, I mean, no major signings for Villa. The players who they have brought in, undisclosed, but it's a backup goalkeeper and 3 youth signings, basically, who you wouldn't expect to see them feature, at least in the first couple of months of the season. Bournemouth, again, fantastic season last year. Everton bogey team, who we play on Saturday. They brought in 3 players. The summary I got from it: a goalkeeper, Petrovic from Chelsea, 25 million. Another player is on a pre-contract agreement, so they've signed him, but he's going back to his parent club. I think that's Ellie Junior Krupi. Right. And then a new left back as replacement for Milas Kirkos, a player who was a big player for them. So they brought in Adrian Truffet from Rennes for 14.3 million. Yeah. So again, they've lost a player and had to replace him.
So just kind of standing still, aren't they?
Yeah, just 3 players they brought in. I think Brentford, obviously the ones where you're going to, not targets as such, but they've lost the manager, 2 big players, and other players that they brought in going to, better them, or they're going to improve them. If
Visser goes, that's 40 goals gone, isn't it?
Yeah.
Out of Mbeumo and him.
So who've they lost already? Sorry.
So they've lost Mbeumo to United. Yeah. I think it's gone through that, hasn't it, now?
Norgard,
and then Visser. It sounds like Newcastle want him, because they said Ekatiki's gone to Liverpool, so they've targeted him. So I know they've got other players who could score goals in Brentford's team, but that's huge.
And Visser's already come out and said, according to reports, that he wants to go.
He wants to go, yeah.
Again, I'll go Brighton. Look like they're the ones kind of making moves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players they brought in. But again, Tom Watson is staying with Sunderland for the season, despite Brighton paying 10 million for him. Move on to Crystal Palace. So far, they brought in 2 players.
Who've they brought in? Yeah.
So Walter Benitez, from PSV Eindhoven on a free.
Yeah.
And Borna Souza from Ajax for 3 million. So he is...
And they could be losing...
He's a left wing back.
They could be losing big players, couldn't they? Eze's been linked with away, and the centre-back, Gehi, sorry, he's got a year left on his contract.
So they're not making... They haven't made huge moves so far. And let's face it, Crystal Palace have been a very close rival to us in terms of league position. Yeah. Fulham signed absolutely no one.
Wow. Didn't realise that.
Interestingly, for some reason, on my Twitter timeline, Fulham fans keep appearing. Yeah. And all they're doing is slagging the club off, saying, when are we signing players?
Okay.
Let me just quickly go to see if they've sold anyone, Fulham. So Willian's been released, Carlos Vinicius, and there's a couple of others who I don't even recognise the name. So they literally barely done anything for them. And again, that's a team who top half finished, wasn't it?
Yeah, not far from Europe.
Who you'd expect to, after having a good season, to push on. I mean, let's face it, we know things can change in the next couple of weeks. So we could do this again, compare what other teams have done. But I think I'm just trying to not just allay other fans' fears, my own anxiety.
Yeah. No, apart from Brighton, and like you, I've got to be honest, I don't really know. I've heard of a couple, but I don't know the players ins and outs. But you just trust Brighton to get it right now, don't you, really? It feels like their recruitment's just so good.
I think what they do as well is they do get it right more often than not. They take educated risks or educated gambles on maybe a player who is maybe slightly highly sought after, but that big club is not going to come in for him yet. They're just going to see if he can make his way in the Premier League, get some Premier League experience, and then say like a Chelsea be happy to go and pay like 40, 50 million on that player as well.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, I'm sure Brighton don't get it right every single time, because you'd only hear about we only talk, success stories, but they definitely fantastic scouting network. Obviously got a good recruitment team who know how to negotiate, and it's a model that a lot of Everton fans probably, in the past would have liked to have gone down.
Like, that's what I think we spoke about previously. Like Tierno Barry, we've got to hope that he would be a kind of a Brighton signing. Not that we want to sell the best players, but everyone's got a price. And like when they sold, was it Casado for 115 million? Like that set them up, hasn't it? Massively. That set them up. But like in all things, it's no good. You can't sell your best players constantly, because look at Brentford. I really do believe that could come back to bite them this year if you sell too many of your best players. But you've got to have a good recruitment team if you do have to sell eventually, and that's what Everton have got to do so right, really. Brighton clearly do it right.
The next one, guess it's going down along in alphabetical order. I think it's worth pointing out, by the way, I haven't included the promoted teams, because as we know, large majority of promoted teams always just end up buying a shed load of players, don't they?
I think Sunderland haven't they?
Yeah.
I think Sunderland bought.
Sunderland have. So again, I think that's a bit of an unfair comparison, and I'm hoping that we're not competing or rivaling those teams as well. So the next team is Newcastle, who effectively have brought in 2 players. Anthony Elanga for 55 million. Okay, big money. And then Antonio Cordova. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Sorry.
I think he's a
youngster. So from Malaga on a free. Don't know too much about him. But again, it's big money.
Yeah.
For Elanga. And I know, as you mentioned, they're trying to sign Vissa, but
Well, I know their fans are definitely panicking.
Well, Isaac, look at that. They've already missed out on the target.
They've missed out on the lad who's going to Liverpool. Missed out on Mbuemo, I think. I don't know seriously where they're. Looks like Trafford's going back to City, doesn't he? The Burnley keeper, and there's been a few others. So I know they're having a really what they think is a difficult summer. I know they've got a right winger now. They needed a right winger to play alongside or competition for Murphy. But Newcastle have just got a good team, haven't they? But I think like the rest of us, if you want to compete on all fronts, and they're back in the Champions League, aren't they, this season? You need a big squad. And I think what you said before was so right, and it's bad for the game. That if you look at like Liverpool, City, Chelsea particularly, Arsenal, the amount of signings Arsenal are making, their squads are just getting bigger all the time, aren't they? It just feels like, how would you compete with that?
You can't. You literally
how would you
can't
compete with that?
You can't even compete with teams who finish below us in United and Tottenham. Different because Tottenham are in the Champions League.
So credit to them. As bad as they were last season, they won the Europa League, got in the Champions League fair and square. But again, United, Dave Powell will probably be better. Joe Thomas to talk about how they've managed to, to be able to spend probably 120 million on 2 forwards. I think it's all above board because of where their company accounts are based. I think they're in the UK, I believe, or something like that. But so our residents, kind of financial experts, would be better placed to explain it. But yeah, that's a tough one to take, isn't it? United, no doubt about it. But Tottenham, fair play. You get a chance to get in the Champions League, you're going to spend the money, aren't you?
We're already making people feel better. Andy Walker says, feeling a bit more positive. Feeling a bit more positive now, knowing clubs around us are finding it equally as hard to go and transfer-wise. Fingers crossed we can still get some decent business done.
Yeah.
Great pods, lads. Although we've had one from the Blues, he likes to share his opinion. It's not unfair to compare our ability to do business with Sunderland and Leeds. Come on, that's ridiculous.
No, Sunderland, to be fair, but I think you're both right, because I think Sunderland have done a lot of business, and I think some of those players, particularly some of them are highly rated, what I've read about. But you're right equally that when you come up, you just got to buy apps. You just to get the squad, haven't you? Yeah. But it's an equal point. We've not got the squad at the moment.
That is the sticking point, though, isn't it?
Yeah. If we had a bigger squad and we needed 3 or 4 just to improve it, but we probably still need 6 or 7, don't we? Just to have the numbers more than anything.
I'll tell you what. Let's take a quick look at Sunderland. Even though I said we wouldn't. So they 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players they brought in. So it's not loads. I think it was a Forest season before they brought in ridiculous amounts of players.
Yeah, after they came up, wasn't
it? So all right, we'll go through Sunderland then. So they brought Simon Adingra from Brighton for 20 million.
Yeah, he had a good game against us, I think, at one point last season, I think.
Here's one Everton were linked with, which I thought could have been a goer, was Habib Diarra.
The Senegal midfielder.
Yeah, Strasbourg, 30 million.
Yeah.
I guess that's one that you could say that we would have been interested in. Do you think we've been put off with him because he's going to be going to the African Cup of Nations and we've already got 2 players in?
It's a great shout, isn't it? Because I think Idrissa Gueye and then Jai could be out for 6 or 7 games around Christmas, couldn't they? Or in the new year. And when you remind yourself of that, it's really, really important that we get more additions in, because that's not just 2 players out of a small squad at the moment. It's 2 crucial players, isn't it? But I think you're right. I think clubs this season must look at that, because you couldn't be in a situation where you got 4 or 5 players going to the African Cup of Nations. And it just brings home, we desperately need another midfielder, don't we? Like, we desperately need another centre midfielder.
Worth mentioning, by the way, Sunderland have sold 2 players who were Joe Bellingham, 32 million, and we already mentioned them. Tom Watson's gone to Brighton, so they've probably got the money in for that, and he's sticking around at Sunderland as far as what I can see. Enzo Laffi from Roma, 20 million, midfielder. Don't know too much about him. And Noah Sadike, 17.5 million. Don't know too much about him.
It's hard, isn't it? Because
fullback, you can play fullback, centre back, or defensive midfielder.
It's difficult. You're right. Like, the Sunderland are clearly doing the business, but I remember Ipswich last season did an absolute load of business, and then
there's another one,
and he went down.
Shemsdean Talbi, again, I'm probably butchering these names, so I apologise, but he was signed from Club Brugge for 19 million. Professional football player. He's a winger.
Yeah.
Oh, we need a winger.
Yeah, we need a winger. He's your right winger.
Who else have we got? It probably was worth mentioning Sunderland, Leeds. I just wanted to avoid.
We shouldn't be competing with them, though, should we?
Not really. The next one, Nottingham Forest. They've already lost a big player. They brought in 3 players. Igor Jesus.
Yeah.
Striker, reportedly to be £10 million. Sharif Yaya. He's only going to join the Forest B team apparently. And Jay Cunha from Botafogo, undisclosed fee as a defender. So they brought in 3 players as well.
Yeah.
I guess the other big one is West Ham, because I always like with what happened with
their fans
Potter.
aren't happy, are they? I don't think.
Well, they've obviously sold Kudus to Tottenham for 55 million. That, again, huge player for them, huge fee. They would rather have kept him, I assume, West Ham fans, than seen him gone. It's like Branthwaite in a way.
Yeah.
Would we have sold Branthwaite for 55, 60 million? Everton fans wouldn't be happy with that.
No, not at all. And they've not brought anyone in, have they, West Ham?
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 players they brought in. So Kyle Walker-Peters on a free.
Oh, yeah.
And then Jean-Claire Todibo.
Was he on loan last season?
Yeah, and the obligation to buy has been activated, 35 million.
Oof.
So from Nice. They brought in a 19-year-old striker from Celtic, Daniel Cummings. You wouldn't expect him to be playing a lot. And then El Hadji Malik Diouf.
The left back. Yeah, he's a left back.
Slavia Prague, 19 million.
Yeah.
So I honestly don't think, other than Brighton, who look like they've signed a good number of players, that there's anyone out there at this current moment in time who's doing more business than us. Yeah. The only caveat to it is that our squad is so paper thin that yes, we probably should have done a little bit more, and we need to do a little bit more.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because if this won't go down well, but say if we brought in, I don't know, McAtee, like Douglas Luiz, and like another winger, and like everyone, and like they were our next 3 signings, you'd be going, great. And then Moyes said, we're also bringing Jack Harrison back. Just for numbers kind of thing. Steady Eddie. I know he's not a particularly fan favourite, but you get him back for, I don't know, 3 million. I don't think anyone would mind that, because in terms of squad size, but say if Everton was to sign Jack Harrison first.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I'm not sure they'll be doing that, but clubs have to be aware of how the fans are feeling, aren't they? And it does feel like the next one, everyone was happy with Travers, backup goalkeeper, had a good game at Blackburn. Like, people rated him highly at Middlesbrough on loan last season. But it does feel, because we've got so few numbers, the next one's got to be a bit of a, a bit of a name, if not a name, an exciting signing, really.
No, absolutely. And obviously, you mentioned McAtee. He's mentioned a couple of times on the pod over the past couple of weeks. I seen a report the other day, and whether this is true or not, that McAtee was valued around 25 million. But then I seen another report saying, well, City have now changed their minds and they want 40 million for him. So whether that's true or not is beside the point. But the point is, there's a lot of variables sometimes when it comes to transfers. Teams can change their mind on players' valuations all the time.
Yeah.
If he's highly sought after by a number of clubs, which he clearly is, he's been going over to Germany to visit training grounds and Trek Frankfurt and stuff like that. If it's Forest and Everton in for him, it's perfect for City because it's a bidding war.
Oh, yeah,
they know exactly.
Yeah.
Well, the ballpark, it's changed a little bit. Well, we said 25, but really, we want 35, 40. And Everton might just then go, balk at that a little bit.
Yeah. Or we may have to hold back while we bring in someone else and see how much money we've got.
It's like a game of cards, isn't it? Like, who moves first?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's a really good point. Like Douglas Luiz, I don't think there's been anything but we've written. I know Joe was chasing it where it's 100% we're in for him kind of thing. I'm sure, but I believe he's a player who Everton have mentioned internally. But then you're reading reports from Italy this week, Forest are there, West Ham are there. So it's not as, unless you are, again, I don't want to keep on coming back to him, but unless you are Chelsea or say Liverpool, and then Liverpool just went to Leverkusen, is 116 million for Wirtz. Chelsea went to Brighton, is 60 million for Pedro. We just can't blow teams out of the water. But so can't a number of other teams. So you're right.
Based on that evidence,
McAtee, would we all take him now? 100%. But we won't be the only ones in for him. And it is frustrating. Don't get me wrong. It is frustrating. I'm not trying to say it's not, but it's difficult because the best players will have options, won't they? They will have options.
Yeah, and we've said this a couple of times. I think I said it as well the other day. Comment here from Andy Walker, who says, to me, critically more important is to sign quality over quantity in this window. We don't want to revisit mistakes of the past, and there's still time to get players in. That is the big thing for me. Okay, Sunderland, use them as the example. They've signed 6 players. Would we have signed some of those players? Okay, yeah, we did say Diarra maybe would have been on the list. I can't see us going for any other of those players that they went for.
No, like I say, Ipswich were a great example last season, weren't they? And obviously, Delap proved to be a very good buy, and I think we would have took him here if he hadn't gone to Chelsea. Yeah, I think it's a really good point. It's just a balancing act, isn't it? Because we all know that we need a bigger squad, and we're all, because it's the summer season and like the football's not the most exciting at the moment. You are desperate. You live for transfers, don't you? But yeah, the view is right. It has to be quality kind of thing, and I do think we can boost the squad in terms of numbers. I'm not saying a Jack Harrison, but I think a Jack Harrison will be available later on in the window. On maybe a loan deal or some things like that. We can do loans. We're not doing any loans yet, have we?
4, as far as I'm aware, 2 domestic.
So we've got loads of space for that. So maybe it's a good point. Maybe we are going for our biggest targets first. The players who are going to play in the team or get very close to being in the team, and then maybe it's a risk. But say like a left back, do you maybe get a backup left back later on in the window? Do you maybe get a second right winger later in the window or a third striker? I don't know, but it's a good point. It's a good point.
I think, well, just on Harrison, he was booed by the Leeds fans as well, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It's not really nowhere to go really at the moment, has he, Jack Harrison, unless he goes somewhere else. But
I just would not rule that one out. I would not rule that one out because I think Moyes quite liked him, and I know he wasn't always in the team, but I believe he liked him previously when he wasn't back at Everton. But I think we need better.
We definitely need better, and if it was going to happen. If it was, don't want to be too critical of him, stay professional and stuff. If it was going to happen, I just don't think we can pay a fee for him. It'd have to be on a free or be like another loan deal. No, it would. It would. Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point in having this money if you're not going to look for better than what we've already had? I think what is interesting, Paul, is that this is the first summer in a long time where we've not been able, don't have to sell players, but we've actually got money to spend. Yeah. We've already spent 43 million on the 3 that we brought in so far. I've seen reports ranging from Everton have got somewhere in between 100 million to 150 million to spend. I'd be very surprised if it gets to 150 million. But got to remember, even if we've got, say, 100 million, that doesn't go far nowadays, does it? In football,
not at all.
like other teams have got that and more.
Yeah, I think the signings will probably make. I can't imagine us spending more than 30 million on a player, similar to Barry. I just don't.
Unless you know it's someone who's like going to completely radicalise and change the team. But I don't know who does that.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? Because you need, if you're going to pay 40, 50, he's got to be a surefire hit, hasn't he?
And the only one out there who's been on that list in terms of that valuation is a Jack Grealish. And really, I don't think the club will pay that money for him.
No.
If anything, if that deal comes off, it's a loan.
I think it is, yeah.
If it comes off.
Yeah.
What I will say, I'd be a bit disappointed at the likes of, if we're in for James McAtee, which we believe the club are, if he ends up going to like a Nottingham Forest. I'll be a bit disappointed in that sense, because I just think we should be able to match that.
Yeah, he's a Northwest lad. New stadium, new owners, Moyes back. Good, as you said earlier, really good end to the season. There's a lot to like, and I think that's why Branthwaite stayed. I think that's why Pickford will get a new contract. We can't forget that there is a lot to like, isn't there? I think it comes back to these players will have options, and like to me, Forest, and even though Forest have obviously had great success in Europe in the past, and nowhere near the size of club say Everton are. It's a big club, Forest, really big club. Did amazingly well last season. But to me, and probably I'm being biased, you would choose Everton over Forest. But what Forest do is have got European football next year, haven't they? They've got European football, so that could be a big thing for players.
Which, although we all want European football, can sometimes, certainly in the Europa League, be more of a hindrance than a benefit, can't it? Stephen Dyer says, McAtee for 25 million with an extra 10 million in extras, he'd be fine with that.
Me too.
Again, that goes back to maybe City wanted 25 million at first, but now the add-ons, which would add up to 35, 40 million. I think just to finish off as well, one point is that we seem to have got rid of players who were obviously being released out of contract, but if you want to call it dead wood, that's what we'll call it. But there's no one in the squad other than Nathan Patterson who you'd think we could sell or you'd want to sell. And raise further funds. There's no one really I want to lose from that team who you think, well, we'll sell him and we'll get money in. Who else is there in that squad?
You couldn't afford to lose anyone
You don't want to lose Ndai.
No.
I'd be reticent to lose James Garner as well.
No.
You don't think you get that much for him with his contract running out anyway.
No, I just don't think we've got the numbers. I think Patterson's the one, isn't it? Like,
but what do you get for him? Less than 10?
You might even have to take him on loan, to a club. But sure, I've only seen the highlights of obviously the goals from yesterday in the behind closed doors game, and then the highlights from Port Vale, Accrington and Blackburn. This feels like if Patterson isn't your first choice by the end of it,
because he's been given chances,
he's been given chances, and it seems like he's fit. I know he definitely played yesterday, as you said, from the cross for the goal. That's the one for me. If we managed, and I think we all recognise we need a starting right back, don't we? I think O'Brien can do a job there, but maybe if we leave ourselves with too much to do, or maybe that could be a starting right back. It might have to be put back another year. It's been put off for like 6 or 7 years now. But if we get one in, Patterson's the one. Yeah, I think that you try and raise some funds, but we can't raise much funds because we can't afford to sell anyone. We can't afford to sell anyone.
Sorry, just on that gas pipe, who's not really a big fan of Jordan Pickford, he always is a regular commenter.
Right.
We can sell Pickford for 20 million. I'd want a bit more than that.
Yeah, just a bit more.
Mark Doyle says James Garner wouldn't be missed in his opinion, but he would have been missed yesterday and he wouldn't have scored that free kick if he wasn't there. McNeil can go, someone says. What would you get for him?
I know where you're coming from, because I think you could improve on both of those players. I probably like McNeil more than I like Garner. I think Garner's a bit of a steady Eddie, and I think he's got a place in the squad. I think we can, to progress, I think we might, either needs to kick on himself or we need to get a bit better than him. McNeil I like, but again, say if a Grealish comes in, does McNeil play? I'm not sure he does. No. But we can't. I just don't think we can sell to buy, if you know what I mean, because we only have about 9 or 10 players in the squad. I think we're going to need those players, and we're going to need more.
Okay. Any final thoughts before we said we'd do 45 minutes, but we've done the hour.
I think it was a good exercise, because
has it made you feel better?
Yeah, and I know a couple of the viewers, people who are watching now, have said the same. just kind of shows we're all in a similar boat, aren't we? Kind of thing. And I think we're right not to do the top 5, 6, or 7 because there's just no point. There's just no point.
And I think we can do this again towards, closer to the transfer window closing, just to compare again.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll have got more players in there.
In 2 weeks, you'd hope. I think if we got past these 3 games in America and no more signings have been made, I think people would be getting a bit twitchy, wouldn't they? Not just us, I think other clubs kind of thing. Because I think by the Roma game, you want to see a few, maybe 1 or 2 more fresh faces, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the squad have already jetted off to America, haven't they? So I assume they'll be there if they're not landed already. We will be back for another Royal Blue show on Friday. Tony Scott will be in the studio alongside with me. All good to finish off?
Yeah. Thanks for having on, mate.
All right, well, please remember to give us a like and subscribe to the show. Drop us some 5-star reviews on Apple and Spotify. Most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. I've been Ian Croll, and thanks to Paul. And this has been the Royal Blue Podcast.